So, hi everyone, and welcome to a new session of Big Brander about the design for social media marketing. I'm going to share a few tips and things that I believe you really need to know, and you don't really need to be a graphic designer in order for you to succeed in some of the things. So, I want to actually start with a question, and I would love for you to either comment here in the chat, and for those who are going to watch it after on the YouTube, you're also more than welcome to write there in the chat. How many of you have actually defined your brand identity? Do you even know what it actually means? And are you using it? Because this is the part that is very important for us to be aware about, because it is part of our business foundation. So I would love to hear from you. Who's here actually had the option to define their brand identity? Give it a second, and then I'll move to what is actually brand identity and why it is important. That's kind of what you do. Okay. So you did colors, fonts. That's good. If someone else want to tap, you're more than welcome to type down. So what does it actually mean? Because a lot of people maybe hear the terms of brand identity, but it's all really about making your brand visible. Okay, all the different elements that actually going to differentiate your brand from other brands and to differentiate it like with your customers. So it's like the overall look and feel, the personality of the brand. It can be logo, colors, typography, everything around it. So it's basically, I like to call it the packaging of your message, the packaging of what your brand is trying to say, the packaging of your brand strategy. So it's very important to have it because it's going to help you with recognition, okay, for people to actually have that in mind. And whenever they see certain type of elements, certain type of colors, you will be in top of mind. It's going to really help you to with differentiation, to make something that's very memorable. So for example, like in my brand, I do the me sitting in a box, right, in a curtain box. And that's the nice thing, because I have that, it's like unique to me. A lot of people, when they see someone else doing similar things, like when people sitting in a box, or when they see like something that reminds them, I come in top of mind. And then sometimes I even get like messages like, oh, I saw this, I think they copy paste from you. And that's the fun part. That's the nice thing about it. And that's what you want to have with your brand. Okay, so if everyone remember the V mark of Nike, of the M of McDonald's, is to make things that will differentiate them, but get people to remember it and to be in top of mind. But also having your brand identity, which is something that it's like, packaging your message, you're also going to build trust with your audience, okay, and build your credibility, which is super important, because when we want to build a strong brand, we actually want to make sure that we're building, relationships with the audience, and through that we're gaining their trust, and through that they're going to be loyal to our brand and our best brand ambassadors. And that is what we want to achieve here. Okay, it also helps to create an emotional connection, because there's certain things in maybe in the elements, something in the colors that makes people feel something. And in one of my previous sessions, I explained that like in the way we do marketing today versus the traditional, people first actually feel something before they make a decision. So by looking at your brand, it makes them feel something. And you want to make sure that you're creating the right emotional packaging to your message, that when they see it, they feel like exactly what you're trying to give them. Also, it's good with brand equity and perceived values, which is super important, because brands is all about perception. And you want to make sure that they understand the value. So if you're trying to have a brand that looks very luxury or expensive or premium, so you want to make sure that your brand identity supports this. Okay, if you're trying to make it more fun and light and like casual, you want to make sure that you're using it the right way. Okay, but before you actually design, you want to make sure that that's in line with your brand identity. You choose the right fonts, the fonts that are actually right for your brand, that support it. And also, like as a little tip in the design, you want to make sure that you using a limited amount of like of fonts, because what happens is sometimes they look at designs and the title is in one font and the paragraph is in one, and there is another title here, and maybe there is like an icon in a different type of font, and then it looks all over the place. So make sure you're very limiting that. Like I usually prefer to work with 2 fonts at the top and not more of that, because you need to remember that for the eye, it's too much information and we're getting lost. As well, you want to make sure that you're deciding on the colors. And here it's very important that you're choosing colors, not necessarily that you like, but also in line with your brand. So if I want to speak about something that is very soft, I won't necessarily use the color red just because I like it. Okay, but I'll use different type of colors that are more like maybe light pink, light blue, and things like that. You want to choose the image that presents your key message. So whenever you want to create a content in general, you want to know what's the purpose of that content. What are you trying to achieve by creating this post, by creating this video, and through that, what is the best picture that will describe it? So for example, if I'll go back for a second in the slides. So when I was trying to, and I call this like training spilling the tea, I went to the AI and I made something around the tea and the laptop. So it's all kind of tailored in. So when you create your designs and your message, you want to make sure that it's telling the same story, that it's not that your text is saying one thing or your video is saying one thing, but then the cover image, the image of the post is saying the other way around. Okay, so you want to make sure that it is connected. Okay, and you want to make sure that you really follow your brand identity guidelines, because you want to be in top of mind. In order for you to be in top of mind, you need to be very consistent with what you're using. Okay, that's why even when I use the AI design, sometimes I also try to find different elements of like making it around like in a curtain box, because this is one of my biggest elements. Okay, so you want to make sure it's all in line, because you want to like, if let's say you drive now and somewhere and you see a certain sign, a certain like thing, and you're like, oh, it reminds me of this brand. That's where you want your audience to get with your brand. So I want to share some social media do's and don'ts. Those are the do's and don'ts, and I'm actually going to go over one by one at the moment. So some of the big do's and don'ts. So the first one is like, don't neglect your branding, because as I said, consistency is key, is crucial. It's crucial in everything you do with your business, okay? To be consistent, it's to be consistent with the type of content, with your online appearance, but it also be with your design, because as I said, you want to be in top of mind. You don't want to use like different styles, different elements, things that are not necessarily related, that when people look at it, it's like, what's the connection between this? Like, they're lost. Okay, it looks like a marketplace, and you want to make sure that there is a theme to what you to your social media platform, especially like if you look at platforms like Instagram, that although some people saying that like the new trends is to maybe the design is not that important, but it is important because it's more about the visual there. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are following your brand identity and you're using the same elements over and over again in different ways, because you don't want to confuse your audience about what your brand is all about. You want to make sure you're maintaining the consistency, like with the colors, with the fonts, with the visuals, because eventually it's going to help you to establish your brand. Okay, it's going to help people to remember you. You want to stand out from the crowd, because there are so many like people using social media and they are exposed to so much content. You want to stand out. You want to find your own unique voice and put it out there. Another like do's and don'ts is about the quality of the image. What happens that sometimes people are either doing a screenshot or downloading from Google or someplace else an image, or they maybe even film the video, but the camera, the quality is not so good. Those things actually impacting the exposure you get on social media. If it's at a poor quality, it actually damaging and reducing your exposure. Okay, that's why you want to make sure that you're choosing high quality images, high quality videos. For example, on Instagram, and I think I saw like in another like platform or two, you do have the options to put in the settings that you can only upload like high quality. Okay, because you don't want people to get there and it looks like very pixels and like blurry, or they don't, because you want them to be able to see the content, not to look at us like, what? I don't get what's it's there, and they're gonna skip. Because as I said, we are exposed to so much content. Make your audience life easier. Make your content accessible. Okay, make it easy for them to, I can see, it's very easy, it's very clear, I can get it, I like it, I don't like it, simple as that. Okay, so make sure you're really using high quality visuals. So whenever you download from whatever you use, that's the nice thing about Canva, that you always get like high quality images. Also about the design, because what I see a lot of the time is that people are putting so much information, okay? So many elements, so many, I call it like background noises, so many like elements and things that happening there, that what's happened is that I don't know what to focus on. Like, I'm just going to take something out of it, and that's what I'm going to get stuck with. And that's the thing. That's what you want to make sure. You want to make it readable. You want to make it very easy. So, for example, I was once like trying to decide like to which membership to take, and on the one website was for small business. On the one website, it was like a long list like this. I'm not gonna rate it, and you can let me know in the chat. Would you actually rate if it's just like a long list versus a different website that put it in a table? So it was very clear for me. This is what you're gonna get in this X, Y, Z. This is what you're gonna get at this. It was easy for me to read. It was easy for me to understand. So when you put like content out there and you make the design, especially if you create carousels, for example, that can be for Instagram, for Facebook, for Threads. When you make those things, you want to make sure that it's like short to the point, easy for me to read and understand. If there's too many elements, too many fonts, too many words, I'm lost. I'll take maybe one little thing out of it if I already decided to read it. But most of the chances, I'm going to skip it because I don't have the time and the energy and the power to start like reading it. Because we all know we're all scrolling like this and moving from one thing to another. So it's very important to have that in mind when you create your designs. Make it very clear, very, very easy and simple. And think about it. If you would want to read it, you see, you're also saying like, Annika, you tend to skip posts with lots of text. And that's the thing. That's why I'm going to share in a bit more tips around this. But people don't read everything. They just skip with their eyes, and they complete the sentence, they complete the story. So make sure that your message is coming through very clear. Another thing is that it's also related to this, it's like to be all over the place versus to have eye-catching graphics. That's why you can, for example, if you use infographics, you're going to want to make sure that there's a story there, there's a guidelines there. If you want to demonstrate something around numbers, use charts, use different illustration. Like avoid having too many things out there, because as I said, like even if like now you're in a meeting and I'll have behind me like a bookshelf with all the books, most of the chances that a big part of you will start looking at the books I have in the back and see what type of books I have and what does it mean about me and so on. That's why I like to have a clean background, because it keeps the focus on the presentation, on me presenting the presentation. And that's the thing. People are so used to having so many background noises, and a lot of people have issues with like focusing on one little thing. So aim them to where you want it to be. Make it like to catch your eye. And it doesn't mean that you cannot use like strong colors, strong fonts, or like a big element, but make sure that it's very clear. It's like branding is all about telling a story. And that's what you want to do with the design. You want to tell the story. You want to use it as like the book cover to invite them to come and read this book, come and read this content, come and watch this video. Okay. If on Instagram, it's the cover image for your reels, on YouTube, the thumbnail, on LinkedIn, if you have an article, so that's the image of the article. It all needs to link to each other, but also to stand out. Another big don't, which relate to actually like understanding the importance of understanding the social media platform, is that each social media platform have different requirements. And that's the thing. Sometimes we design something for, let's say, for Instagram as a post, and then we want to use it as a cover for Reels. It's not the same size. Or if we're using, for example, the article for LinkedIn, the cover image, it's not going to suit the size of Instagram, but it will, for example, be okay for Facebook. So it's very important to understand that and to make sure we're really optimizing that and making sure we're choosing the right size, the right sizes. Because what happened is that, for example, when you choose for certain, let's say, I think it's easy to explain on Instagram, when you choose the cover image for your Reels, if you actually like don't choose the right size and you don't play with this, then what happens is on your feed, you will see only part of the elements, part of the text. You won't see the entire information. Or for example, even if you design your video, like on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, on Pinterest Pin Idea, on Reels, and you put the text in different places that are not part of the center, people that are going to watch it from the mobile, they're going to miss it out. Something's going to hide it. So it's very important to make sure that you understand the platform. You know exactly what are the sizes there. You know exactly what are your boundaries, your frames, and follow that. Follow their guidelines, okay? Because if not, it's going to be that you basically work so hard on creating that content and coming with that content ID and creating the video, creating the design, but people cannot really see it, cannot understand it. Half of it, it's gone, okay? So it's important to remember that. I want to share some more design tips. Is that, you know, you spoke about that if it's long text, we're not necessarily reading it. That's why it's very important to make some space, okay? To make it more readable, even use different paragraphs, use bullet points, make it very easy that I know I can skip with my eye from this to this, and it makes it easier for me to read. And if you have lots of empty spaces, so optimize them. Get things in the center, find a different element that maybe can cover it. Don't keep like too much empty spaces that are maybe even stuck in certain corners. So let's say I've got the text here and all of it is empty, but that's it, it's just in that corner. So make sure you actually optimizing and making the most out of like the size that you've got for the design. As I spoke in the beginning about consistency, which is super, super crucial, okay? You want to support your brand identity. You want to follow those guidelines because you want to make sure that you're adjusting the key message around this, because you want to have the same package. The same when you go to the supermarket and you know which brand to buy and you're recognizing by the packaging of the product. That's how you want your audience to remember you. Adjust the background transparency, and I will show you an example. So for example, I see for a lot of people, they put an image and there's different information in the image, and then they write a text on top of it. But then you cannot really see the text. And one of the nice things to do is to put like a transparency, like type of background around it, and to put the text on it. You'll see in a second an example, and that makes the text to stand out and not to like kind of blend in and get lost in like all the different things that are happening in the images. That's why also when you're choosing images and you know you want to write text, choose images that have something more clean about them, that there's not a lot of information there, that you can have those empty spaces that you can optimize and put there your text, okay? Also very, like, remember, I always say it like, pretty much I think I always repeat it, like less is more, okay? It's not about having too much information. It's not about having too many details. It's not about having too many elements, too many colors, or all of that. It's about making it very simple. I want to see and understand. This is what I'm getting from this. Easy. I know, I understand. I want to follow. I don't want to follow. Make my life easier. And that's why it's super important. It's in everything we do. It's in the way we write text, in the way we make presentations, in everything, in the designs, all of it. And the other one is like to be bold, you know, to be different, to, if you means you want to use different like outstanding colors, outstanding elements. Don't be afraid to put maybe things that are maybe not so easy to see, or, you know, do things, but as long as you're making sure that you are being bold, but also you finding your own unique voice. Okay, so it's a type of a balance, because you want to put it out there, you want to make sure that you are supporting your brand identity, and on the same time that you support your brand identity, you also finding your own unique voice through that and putting it out there. And you know, when you create designs like for your post, think about what it's trying to say and think about what is the creative way of me to put the message out there. So for example, if I want to say, put a message of like how to outstand from the crowd, I can take a picture of like a group of like white chips and have like a pink one in the middle and say, this is how you're going to stand out. So it's really to come from a different way and not fairly like strict, like, oh, I spoke about like standing out and I need to put a sign standing out. Okay, so, and that's why I really like the AI design. So how many of you have started to use in the AI design, like want to maybe start using it? Just let me know like in the chat. And one of the things that you can see here, because of that image that I've done on AI design, I couldn't find like a space to put the AI design. So what I've done, I've taken the color of the T and I made a little frame, and on that frame I put the text. So the text is still standing out and it's not blending in. So that's why when I spoke about the transparency, Shanika, you're not. I'm actually like a type of addicted to this. I'm really enjoying playing with it. I think it's so much fun. And I think like I'm going to share with you some of the benefits. And the nice thing, like, you know, a lot of us are using Canva, right, to get our designs and images, and they have their stock images through that. But the nice thing, okay, so you just started, nice. Let me know which platform you are using for this. And the nice thing about it is that it helps you to bring your creativity without even you needing to think about it. You just need to know what type of keywords you want to use. If you're not sure, you can always see what others are typing and get some ideas out of it. And then you play with the designs, and then basically they do the more creative thinking and bring you the stuff. Because like there's a nice way for me of sharing like about spilling the tea, connecting it to the laptop, and play with us. So I'm going to share some like benefits of AI design. First, it helps you with efficiency, because now you don't need to overthink and start searching in the stock images and getting to understand, but this doesn't describe what I'm going to write and what to play with it. Like it takes time. It's time consuming sometimes to find, and you can also let me know in the chat. Like I feel it's sometimes time consuming just to find the right image that will describe what I want to say. Also, it's very easy to use. Like once you get it and you have it, like for example, I use Midjourney, although I was recommended about a new platform that I'm going to start playing with, and I'm going to be able to see which one is actually better. But like for example, Midjourney, it's super easy. I know to put the slash, the tags, like, and that's it. And then just a matter of like few seconds, maybe sometimes if because I want to put my face in it, there's a queue maybe on certain times, so it takes a bit longer. But it's a matter of like either a few like minutes, and that's it. And you get a nice design while you can actually do other things while it's generating it for you. So it's efficient, more efficient, and very easy to use. And very helping you to really connect to a creative side, to do things a bit differently. And if we spoke about One Day and Creator, okay, those are not the one that I heard about, but I love Midjourney. It's very, very nice. And that's the nice thing. If we spoke about standing out from the crowd, this is it. Like use different designs that are going to help you to stand out and get people to wait, stop a second. I want to see what it's all about. I want to read more. I want to know more. I want to watch the video and all of that. Also with the personalization, because as I said, like the nice thing with AI is that you can actually place your face in it, inside of the images. So even for me, if I don't have the time now or the budget, for example, to do another photo shot about me sitting in a cardboard box, I can actually use this. Like if I also don't maybe even have the time, like just to go for half of a day and taking the pictures and waiting, blah, blah. That's an easy solution for me. And that's the nice thing. So you can play with it and still make your content personal and still put yourself out there and not just using different designs from Canva that are not necessarily related to you and not having that personal connection. Because if we spoke about in the beginning, you want to have an emotional connection with your audience. You want to trigger something because people are making decisions based on how they feel. In politics, it's about getting them scared, getting them nervous. Every brand, something else like excitement, overwhelm, different type of emotions. Also, it's cost reduction because it's not that expensive. And in some of the platforms, you have a free version. And then you necessarily need to pay for Photoshop or Adobe or other stuff. It's way, way, way cheaper than those ones when you need to buy stock of images. And I really believe it helps you to really upgrade your brand, like to really come with a new, different look and feel, on making the things looks a bit different and to play with this. And it really also like give you like a wider range of options for you to use, a wider range of images. Because usually, for example, in Midjourney, I put the code of what I want. It gives me 4 options. For each one of those 4 options, I can generate more 4 options and so on and so on. So there's so many things out there. I can use someone else's image and play with this. So there's a big variety and it's really like something else, something different. So for those of us who are not graphic designers, who are not sure how to design or not sure how to use Photoshop, or feeling a bit lost, like by searching for a half an hour for an image on Canva, this is a great solution for us to use. So how can you know that like if your design works? For those of you who know me, it's very easy to understand and know the answer, which is the numbers, okay? The insights, the analytics. You will see how was the exposure you got, the engagement you got. You will see all of that information there. The audience will tell you if I liked it, if I didn't. And if they didn't like your content, so it's probably either on what you wrote, about the image, and you can see with the exposure, because you want to bring the people right to you. If the design is strong, so you're getting an increase in the exposure. So this is one of the best ways for you to know if it was working or not. As well, for example, in platform like YouTube, the thumbnail is super important because that's the first thing people see. And then you can see how many people have actually clicked on it because the topic is probably relevant because that's what they typed in the search. But then you can see how strong the thumbnail is from that, like from people coming to actually click. And then by other elements in the analytics, you can see if they really like the content or not, like such as retention, for example. So this is the big part of it. You must put numbers. But you do, it's all about numbers, 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 numbers. People don't like numbers, but it's all about numbers. And you need to read the numbers because people will tell you exactly what's working, what's not, okay? And your audience will engage. They will see if you're being consistent and putting everything out there and making it very easy for them to understand, they'll definitely gonna come to you. So this is